Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We will, inshallah, conclude the commentary on verse number 26 today of Surah Al-Baqarah, of course, chapter number 2. And we wanted just to comment on the phrase that says, يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. Talking about the Quran, when Allah mentioned that Allah does not shy away from setting parables in His book to teach humanity. Those, of course, who believe, or those who are inclined to believe, they know that this is from their Lord and they accept it. They don't raise objections. While those who want to go astray, they just object to everything, even if it makes no sense to them, but they still raise those objections, maybe to convince themselves that they are right or doing the right thing, or maybe to call other people away from the guidance of the Quran. They say, ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا? Why is Allah setting these parables? And then Allah says, يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. This statement is from Allah, saying that Allah teaches, and what happens is, based on the human response, many people will be guided by that, and many people will reject and go astray. يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. But then Allah showed that only those who have certain evil qualities are the ones who are led astray by such parables. Because the purpose that is set is to guide the people. But their response was the wrong response, and that is why they were led astray by what was supposed to be a guidance for them. And the guidance and leading someone astray, that all is the doing of Allah. Because it says, يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. Based on the response, if there's acceptance and submission and willingness to learn, Allah will teach the person. If somebody wants to be guided, Allah will guide them. If somebody is bent upon refusing guidance, then Allah will facilitate for him to go astray. That's how it works. وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. Those who want to go out. Remember the fusuq, we talked about fusuq, to deviate. Those who already have the intention to deviate away from the way of Allah. They're not reading the word of Allah to learn, or they're not looking at the signs of Allah to be guided, but they have a totally different intention. Many people read the Quran they think that they can find mistakes, and due to their shallow knowledge, they actually things that are miraculous, they think they are mistakes. Like we talked in the same verse before about the mosquito and the fly and the spider and the bee. Anybody who is very shallow in knowledge might think that there are grammatical mistakes. If you go back two classes back, you will know we talked about this in more detail. But if somebody has the depth of knowledge, he will actually realize the miracles and the guidance contained within such verses. وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ الَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ. They have these qualities. They cut and sever the covenant of Allah after it was emphasized by Allah. We'll talk about this verse, and so basically they have these evil qualities. So I just wanted to talk about يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. We'll go back to the following verse. ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون. This is a separate verse. That's verse number 27. We'll talk about it now. Okay, so the points I wanted to make about hidayah and dalal, about guidance and misguidance, guidance or going astray, is that Allah's will was not to force anyone to choose any way in life. Allah's will and decree was to give humanity, every human being, the free will to choose his own way in life, which leads to his own destiny. He will choose his way and actions, and then that would lead to a specific destiny at the very end. And Allah said about this, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُم. Meaning that if Allah wanted or willed,
If Allah willed, He would have made everyone the same type. لَجَعْلَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. All of them guided, all of them obedient, but then they would be really programmed. They would be just like robots or would be like angels, but this is not, Allah already has angels, and Allah already created creation that works without any deviation from Allah's commandment, which are the planets and the earth and the moon and everything else, all the laws of physics, the laws of chemistry. Those follow the way Allah has set for them without any deviation. You will not find a single atom in the universe. If it's a sodium atom, it will never behave like a chloride atom, for instance. Even the level of the atoms, or animals, or trees, they will just follow the set law that Allah has placed for them. So there are already creations. Malaika لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم. They never disobey Allah. ويفعلون ما يأمرون. And whatever they're commanded, they will do. They don't have that kind of ability. So Allah willed to create another creation that has that kind of free will. And He says, if I wanted to make human beings in such a way, I would have made them in such a way. But He says, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ. But He created them مُخْتَلِفِينَ. They are different. Everybody has his own choices. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُم. Which means that some of them will go astray and some of them will deviate from the straight path. And Allah created them for this kind of test. وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُم. And that's mentioned in other verses. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَلَكِنْ يُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Also, if Allah wanted to make you a one set, one class, He would have done that, one type. But Allah chooses to guide some and lead some astray. Now, guiding some or leading some astray, that's based on their choices, as we will see. Allah has given the human being the ability to recognize what is right and what is wrong, and to recognize truth from falsehood. That's something that's within the ability of every human being to start with. That's very important. We know it's within our ability to start with. Some people, if they keep choosing what is evil and what is wrong, they lose that ability to distinguish between right and wrong, truth and falsehood. And you see many people who have reached that state. And those are the people Allah said about them, طَبَعَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. Allah has sealed their hearts. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم. Allah has sealed their hearts and their ears. وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة. But that does not happen, that no one is created in such a way. That does not happen in the first place. That only happens based on the human being's choices. In the same manner, if a human being chooses to choose what is right and follow the straight path, Allah will facilitate that path for him. He becomes more and more inclined to the truth, more and more inclined to righteousness. It becomes easy for him. That is mentioned very clearly in verses such as فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. It's very simple and clear that whoever gives, meaning he's generous, kind, caring, أعطى واتقى, so that's towards human beings, he's generous and caring. اتقى means that he feared his Lord. He has behaved in the right way towards his Creator and towards the creation of Allah. وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and he has believed in Allah and His promises. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى, I will make that even more easy for him. It will, at one point, that person, it will be like eating and drinking and breathing. Following the right thing will be second nature to him. If he does otherwise, then his whole life will be disturbed. You follow? If a person وَمَنْ يَقْتَرِفْ حَسَنَةً نَزِدْ لَهُ فِيهَا حُسْنًا. Whoever does a hasana, يقترف means that he works hard to achieve a certain good deed. نَزِدْ لَهُ فِيهَا حُسْنًا. Allah will make that good deed even more beautiful and more sweet to him. More beautiful in his eyes, more sweet to his heart. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانَ وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah has made Iman beloved to your hearts. وَزَيَّنَهُ, He adorned it, He made it beautiful to your eyes. وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانَ. And that person reaches a level where he dislikes and distastes and has a what do you call it, aversion from evil. كَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُم, he made you hate. Al-kufra, disbelief. Wal-fusuq, wal-asyan, fusuq, we talked about the fusuq before, and all kinds of sins. He dislikes them. He doesn't like them anymore. While other people keep choosing the wrong thing, Allah says, فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم. When they chose to deviate, I facilitated their deviation more. And that is how it goes. So Allah will, because Allah is the doer of everything, but He does to us and to our hearts and minds based on our choices. So we cannot control our hearts and minds, but we can control the choice. You make the choice, then Allah will set your heart and mind and soul according to that choice. Either loving that goodness or loving that evil based on the choices. Just like somebody who does drugs. Initially, he wants to do a drug, maybe even cigarettes. He dislikes it, but he insists on doing it, or alcohol, insists on doing it, becomes an addiction. Then he loses control, right? It becomes facilitated to him to continue doing that thing until he goes back to Allah Azza wa Jal sincerely, and Allah, resets his mind and heart so that he can go be guided again. كلكم ضال إلا من هديت فاستهدوني أهديكم. Ask me for guidance and I will guide you. I will guide you. Allah has shown everybody the way, and people make the different choices. Allah says about Thamud, فأما ثمود فهديناهم فاستحبوا العمى على الهدى. I guided them, means I sent them my messengers and my books, but they have chosen blindness over guidance. They made their choice, but it is Allah who guides, and He sends His messengers to guide. وَإِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي, talking to the messenger, you guide them. Also, Quran, هُدًى لِلنَّاسِ, Quran is a guidance. So the books of Allah, the messengers of Allah are a means of guidance, but it is who will be actually guided and practically guided. It is that person who chooses that way. I think that makes it clear. There's lots to be said about this, but I think it makes it clear. So anybody has question about this matter? Any question? Is that okay? Okay, we'll stop here.